Still no sign of Susan Powell, but we are hearing disturbing new information from some of her friends.
Apparently, about a year and a half ago, Susan wrote a note. ABC4's Brandy Vega joins us now. And Brandy, what did that note say?
Well, guys, she wrote saying if she ended up dead, it wouldn't be suicide.
Is your body still in the same place you showed me?
Water.
Yes.
Out.
There we go.
Concrete on the edges, you can't get up in every place. We got sucked under.
Whoa.
What was that?
Water.
Look it up.
When I was telling Scott about that the other night on the EVP, as I was telling it, Jerry goes on the EVP. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a plan. So,
For hire, like this was like something for hire, like it feels like they wanted to get rid of him for some reason.
Said me too.
Nine years. For 9 years, I have tried to find this very spot. I've wanted to sit in this spot, a spot where I looked through Susan's eyes 9 years ago. I drew this picture and wrote these notes immediately after the vision she gave me. May 26, 2013 would be the first of many visits by Susan to try and describe to me how to find her watery grave. So let's take a second to back up. How did I find this spot? Let's back up to the beginning. Welcome to episode 3 of the EVP Diaries. This is part 1 of several episodes coming up on Susan Cox. I first met Susan Cox May 26, 2013. I saw a news article in Fox News regarding a diary that had been found of hers. When I saw the headline on that article, the headline sort of hovered, and for some intuitive reason, I knew I needed to pay attention deeper to it. I went into a meditative state. I guess you might say. You might call it a trance. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, because at that time, this was the very first time I had experienced this and understood that it would repeat throughout days after with other news stories. And so what I would do is go into a meditative state, and I would concentrate only on the picture without reading the story. So I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about Susan Cox. I knew nothing other than the diary that said was a cry for help if anything ever happened to her. Upon meditating, I was immediately taken on what I now know to be called a remote viewing. Either Susan or my spirit guides or her spirit guides took me to her water grave and let me lay in the grave and look through her eyes, essentially. And I looked to the left and saw the bank on that side, and I looked to the right and saw the bank on that side. And I sat up, just like the picture you saw early in the intro. And I looked ahead, and less than 100 feet away is all I can say. Somewhere between 50 and 80 feet in front of me was a industrial type culvert made of cement, very thick cement. Came back out of that trance and immediately drew this picture. Well, can't see it. I'll be posting that next. So I drew the picture, and then through my clair senses started getting information that Susan was telling me, and I started writing it down. And they're in a series of clues that occurred over a period of 9 years that then allowed me and a team of mediums and a team of people to eventually narrow down within a 10-foot circle of the spot where Susan's last resting place is. What an adventure, but also one of the biggest acts of love and kindness that I've ever participated in. Find Susan. Find Susan. So, how the search came about, I actually in 2015 happened to be in Provo, Utah, visiting one of my favorite American idols, Brooke White, at a performance she was doing. And while I was that close to Salt Lake City, I felt determined I need to go at least visit some of the waterways that were in the general area that I knew. I didn't have as specific information then as I have now, but I had enough to get in the right area. And so I began search, and it ended abruptly when a lot of the area was closed due to construction, fresh construction at the time. So I had to cancel the search, at which point when I returned back to my home in New Mexico, I then moved to Tennessee and never got to resume that search again. But I never forgot about Susan, because Susan was one of several cold cases and missing persons that over time I had worked on through the same way that I did with Susan, which is I'd see a headline, I'd see something about the story that would pull me in. I would take the time to meditate. I would write notes. I would listen to clairs. I would remote view, all those things. I could see past, present, sometimes future. The most interesting thing is that when I started this journal, what I began to notice the pattern was they were all coming true. So that gave me a little bit more of a drive to search for Susan and some of the other cases that are still pending that I'm working on. So fast forward to 2021, when I began honing my skills of mediumship and psychic abilities better, thanks to our mentor, Cindy Kaza. Holzer Files, you might recognize that name or the show. Very excellent person to train under. I highly recommend finding some of her classes and training under. So upon training with Cindy and her assistant Julie, we formed breakout groups. While in one of the breakout groups with a group of about 7 or so, between 5 and 7 of us, we were doing a lot of practicing, and one day it came up amongst our group, hey, Scott, those missing people and cold cases you have, do you want to toss those in the middle of our group and let's just see what we get? So we started out one night back in February, and nothing short of amazing, what, 5 to 7 mediums with electronic equipment as well, using all of our clairs, electronics, and intuitions. The information we came up with was astounding. So we took the very first case, which, by the way, if you go back to episode 1 of the EVP Diaries, you can see that case, and you can see that Smiles is my very first case, and we figured out pretty much everything. We are waiting on legal digs in order to try and prove what we think we know. That's in the works. After we got done with Smiles, I wanted to introduce Susan as our second case, and we tried something novel, new, and different, and you're getting ready to hear it, but it actually worked. Since Smiles, as you saw in episode 1, became so proficient at talking to us electronically, we thought we would ask Smiles and her team, Team AL on the other side, Team Afterlife, to try and find Susan and teach her how to talk to us through their system of microphones, which is what we've established, what we call it. So next here, you're going to hear the results of that.
Question. Did you and the team get to find Susan Cox? And has you had a chance to teach her about the microphones and how to talk to us?
Sure.
Is Susan with you right now?
I heard,
Susan, can you come to the microphone? Because I need to know, do you still need help being found? We're listening. And we got to teach each other how to talk to each other, so be patient.
the AL have taught her. I heard it's me, crystal clear.
We're listening. And we got to teach each other how to talk to each other, so be patient.
The AL have taught her. I heard it's me, crystal clear.
We want to ask you a very important question. Did you and the team get to find Susan Cox? And has you had a chance to teach her about the microphones and how to talk to us?
Sure.
Is Susan with you right now?
I heard,
Susan, can you come to the microphone? Because I need to know, do you still need help being found?
The groundbreaking results, or more appropriately, the ether-breaking results on April 10th would change our medium team's direction where we had hoped, and change our relationship with Susan. Susan and Smiles would make up the core of Team AL, the afterlife team. They would help teach a dozen or more spirits to date how to communicate with us. Given the wit and personalities of Susan and Smiles, there would be some pretty funny moments too. I'll share a few here, but we'll feature more shenanigans of Team AL in future episodes. This new breakthrough would also help us in refining the search for Susan, as I will share next. As we get into the deeper dive into the audio records and EVPs and voices from the other side, it's interesting to note that we can identify particular spirits who have unique voice tones, and we all have a unique pattern, the way we walk, the way we talk, the verbiage we use. I have this montage I put together of Susan that I found two of our sample voices of her talking to us compared to her real voice in real life from the video diary that she made. And you notice the use of the word me in reference to her seems to be one of the characteristics that help us to identify Susan. Susan's voice tone is also uniquely deeper and noticeably different than the other female voice. I will also include here some more personal messages from her to both her dad and just her feelings on the other side. Susan, is that because it's not light?
We're listening.
This is me, July 29th, 2008.
Susan, is that because it's not light?
We're listening.
This is me, July 29th, 2008.
Susan, we haven't talked in a number of birthdays. I haven't forgotten about you. We'd like to ask Susan a few important questions, and I know y'all have been helping her on this because I kind of asked you to help out to get the clearest answer. So, Susan, are you here? By the way, Susan, I've been enjoying the songs that you've been picking out. What do you want me to tell her? Is there any message you want me to give your dad? And this is how I think we can try to do this with each of the missing people, is to have the one that we tell teach the next one. If we can daisy chain it like that. The question is, I don't know who the third one's going to be, but I assume the universe is going to provide that.
I've heard Android. What I was getting about from her for her dad was that she loves him, misses him, and she wants to thank him for everything he has done.
What do you want me to tell her? Is there any message you want me to give your dad?
Love.
And now, Kennicott Tailing Pond number 2.
You didn't even finish, and I heard that's it.
Okay, so there's no buildings around or anything. It's out in an open area.
So does Kennicott Tailing Pond number 2?
And we still near Kennicott Tailing Pond number 2, near a culvert near the main road. on the south side of 80.
Do you know how far off of the road the blue rug is?
So I picked a location on a map that's south of the main road, you called it, Interstate 80, but it's underneath a power line. Is that the correct location where you're at?
And so what I think I'm going to see is, I see the hub, maybe at least the carpet sticking out, but I know it's out of place to something that should just be sort of a smooth, rocky, from where the rug is, where your body is, you can see a culvert from the road from there, where your body is, right?
And it's one of those culverts with a paved front or a cement front on it, right?
Yeah.
It's like a really like industrial culvert.
And give us as many description words as you can.
But this is the culvert. Here's where my point of view was. And you could see that it was this arch. You could look, I looked and could see the bank. I could see the water. Actually, the surface of the water, you know how when you go diving and you look up and you can see the surface of the water? I could see it.
Yeah.
And all this was clear. And, but it was a steep bank. But all in all, I wouldn't put this more than 20 feet wide at most, if that. So it's not very deep. That's the point is. Does that look familiar, Susan?
Is your body above the surface of the bottom of the river that you're in to where you could see it if you were looking down in the water?
I heard no.
Let me know. Are there any bones left?
I'm going to ask you this a couple times, but your body is wrapped up in a rug.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was crystal clear.
Can you tell me the color of the outside of the rug?
Blue.
Okay, write that down, please. So let me ask you this, Susan.
Said you're wrapped in a rug and that it's blue. Is the blue on the inside or is it showing on the outside? And that is how I ended up in this spot. The very spot, I believe, 9 years ago, Susan let me see through her eyes. And the spot where all the clues led us to.
Are you Debbie?
I'm Debbie Caldwell.
Nice to meet you. I'm Scott.
Nice
Scotty
to meet you, Scott.
or
Ken Caldwell.
Ken, nice to meet you. Hi. So I brought, I'll show you a notebook.
Well,
Here's the drawing I drew after Susan took me here. So May 26, 2013. So what happened was I saw this story on Fox.
just basically make a line right here. And just, line right here?
We're gonna, yeah, right.
Park the bank if you can on, and just kind of step and feel.
then found the floating rock that was a rock that was just at sea level that would bob up and down as the tide went up and down, and it looked like a floating rock. One of the spiritual leaders says you are standing in the right spot. That is the right spot. Dig, you're going to have to go down a couple of feet, but dig within a 10-foot circle of where you're standing, which is where I'm getting ready to put this. So then we set out. We have 2 islands here, as you notice, of debris. Those islands I would highly recommend running through a sifter. And there are not likely to be a lot of bone fragments at this time, being water involved. Teeth will definitely still be there though, so that's one thing. And the suggestions were to possibly even take a cadaver dog, lay a blanket out, put a shovel over there, let a dog sniff it. Put another, and then let somebody sift that too, just as a double check. I wouldn't give up on this spot, but that's just my strong.
I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm going in circles, going in circles. I should get away from here. There's a better place for me, better place for me. I need to clear my mind, need to clear my mind. I wanna be empty, be empty, be empty. A sparkle lights a fire, I'm high, I'm a butterfly, a blooming flower, but I am thirsty. A drop of water and another drop of water. Sunlight, I'll soon be rising. I'm a butterfly. How am I supposed to see if I am in darkness? I am in darkness.
Y'all are the most awesome people I've ever met. We make a great team, don't we? I'll get a rise out of them. We make a great team, minus Robert. Ha! I knew I'd get a response.
Another summer day has come and gone away, and Paris or Rome, but I wanna go home. Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel.
There you go. We will call it. We will call it Susan's Island.
Each one a line or two. I'm fine, baby. How are you? Well, I would send them, but I know that it's just not enough. My words were cold and flat, and you deserve more than that. Another airplane, another sunny place. I'm lucky, I know, but I wanna go home. I got to go home. Let me go home. I'm just too far from where you are. I wanna come home. And I feel just like I'm living someone else's life. It's like I just stepped outside when everything was going right. And I know just why you could not come along with me. That this was not your dream, but you always believed in me. Another winter day has come and gone away in either Paris or Rome, and I wanna go home. Let me go home. And I'm surrounded by a million people. I still feel alone. Let me go home. Oh, I miss you, you know. Let me go home. I've had my run, baby, I'm done. I gotta go home. Let me go home. It'll all be alright. I'll be home tonight. I'm coming back.